Hi everybody, Nurse Wendy here. One of the most frustrating aspects of this pandemic is the uncertainty. Families trying to make decisions and they don't know what schools will look like or when they will reopen. Decisions about when schools reopen are based on metrics, so a better understanding of those will help us make informed choices. Metrics help us understand trends in disease in the community. They help us understand the risk for transmission. So they're essential to help us control and reduce disease. They come from collecting, analyzing, and interpreting health-related data, which we use to plan and implement public health policy. So they help us make better choices that helps everyone keep healthier. Because they show trends, when we work with metrics, we need to show them over time. So decisions based on metrics are based on metrics over 3 weeks in duration. We should never make a decision based on metrics for just 1 week. To return to schools, there are 3 metrics we're watching. 2 tell us about what's happening in our county, and 1 tells us what's happening statewide. The first metric I want to talk about is the metric around how many cases we have per 100,000 people in our population. In order to bring all students back to school in Klamath County, we need to have less than or equal to 10 cases of COVID per 100,000 people in our population. In Klamath, we have approximately 70,000 people. So our target number would be 7 cases of COVID per week in order to be the equivalent of less than or equal to 10 cases of COVID in our county. The second metric that's important for Klamath County is the percent positive or percent positivity rate or positivity rate. It goes by all those names. And it is the number of tests performed which are positive. So if we were to test 100 people and 50 of them were positive, our positivity rate would be 50%. If we were just going to test people who are sick, who are symptomatic and ill, it's more likely that they would be positive than we were to test people who are sick and everybody around them. So if we test people who are ill and everyone around them, then our test positivity rate would go down, which we want it to. A lower positivity rate is better. And we would find all of the cases of COVID that we believe are in our community, or at least more of them. The positivity rate is important because it tells us about the rate of transmission in our community and whether or not we are doing enough testing. The target number in a community that tells us a community is safe is less than or equal to 5%. If the positivity rate is too high, it indicates that the rate of transmission in a community is high and there are likely more people in the community who have COVID who have not yet been tested. Percent positivity rate at the state level is the third metric we look at. That's important because we care about the rate of transmission and the amount of testing elsewhere in the state. We care about that because if you look at Facebook, families travel all over Oregon. There are great pictures that show us people have had wonderful summers, which is amazing, but it means that people may have been exposed to COVID in other areas of our state where the metrics are not as good as ours. So because Klamath County has not met all of these metrics, all of our students cannot be in school. You may have noticed that there are some students who are returning to school, and I want to talk about why that is. So remember, metrics measure risk. And while we have not met the metrics that will allow all of our students to return, we have met metrics, looser metrics, which will allow some of our students to return. When there have been less than or equal to 30 cases per 100,000, and the positivity rate is less than or equal to 5, and as long as there's not a positive COVID case associated with the school, some students can return in some areas. Students in grades K to 3, older students in smaller groups with more strict public health protocols, and some students in rural and remote schools can return as entire schools. Rural and remote schools can bring their entire population back following public health protocols when they are rural and at least 8 miles away from another school who is offering the same grade level. You might wonder why that is such an important distinction, 8 miles. And it has to do with population centers. So as a community, as a county, we may have a certain number of cases per 100,000. So that means the number of cases per 100,000 within Klamath Falls City would be higher than the number of cases per 100,000 in more rural parts of our county. So the risks associated with bringing students back into schools in population centers is higher. The good news is we can make the situation better. We can help improve the metrics. Reducing transmission rates by wearing masks, physical distancing, and avoiding large gatherings will improve our metrics. Together we can make choices which improve our metrics and bring our students back into schools. I'm looking forward to talking to you all again next week. Take care.